Hi again, this is Joe with another. Sorry about that. This is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, and of course, I know now you're subscribers are probably waiting for this. I'm going to do my review of the 2016 baseball season. I know right now people are probably thinking doing the Batman Superman movie. You can forget anything with Ben Affleck in it. It's just not interested in it. If I catch it somewhere, I catch it somewhere. But I'm not interested in spending $20 to see that. But anyway, getting off topic, the subject of this video is I'm going to be discussing the preview the 2016 baseball season. And of course, I do hope that the Mets will have a good year and get to the World Series again. But the way the Mets have been playing in spring training, it doesn't look good. Because the Mets haven't won a game in 11 days. True, the exhibition games don't mean a hell of a lot, but if you go this long in spring training without winning a game, you suck. We said that before today's game, the last three games the Mets played, they tied. I mean, come on. I mean, a tie is like kissing your sister. But to not to have a tie, not to win anything since over a week, I mean, it's ridiculous. Especially in spring training, it's ridiculous. Uh, anyway, this year I do expect that most of the teams who were in the playoffs in 2015, I feel are most likely going to be in the playoffs again in 2016. The only difference, maybe the only difference is maybe the Nationals will slide in there somewhere. And the thing that I feel that's the joke is the stupid odds makers. Even though the two teams that went to the World Series in 2015, Kansas City and the Mets, uh, they're not even favored to win even the division. Much less getting into the World Series. I think I think the Royals were like 6-1 or 7-1, something like that, and it must like a 10-1 shot. I take that money. I take that bet. You know, when the Mets are a 10-1 shot to even win the division, but not get to the World Series. So, so it's once again it shows the disrespect that most people have for the Mets. I mean, the Mets are beyond the Nationals, beat them. I think like the 6 out of the last 7 or 7 out of the last 8 games they played against each other. The Mets won. So, and as a team that completely collapsed last year. This year, who knows if they're going to even do that well? That's pure, and the Nationals are favored to win the division again. And like, why? I mean, the truth is the Nationals have won the division a couple years in a row, but the Mets broke that streak last year because they stunk. It was completely disorganized. There was a fight between Bryce Harper and Jonathan Papelbon in the last game of the year. Um, or next to last game of the year. So this is the team that gets picked. I mean, they totally collapsed. They got their asses handed to them on a silver platter by the Mets in the last few games. So I don't know why they picked again. And the Cubs, true, I don't know by who gets favored at the beginning of the year. Because of the fact that most of the time, most of the picks are wrong. But the funny thing that I got the joy of to see how wrong these so-called baseball experts are. I'm more of a baseball expert than these geniuses are, and they get paid to pick games or bet on games every year, or at least every day. Uh, but I'm more of an expert than they are because I follow the game, I watch the games on TV, or listen to on the radio, and to have uh, not only the Nationals favored in the division, but they have the Cubs win the World Series. I mean, come on, last year was if you believe in the stupid movie Back to the Future Part 2, most people bet on the Cubs last year to win the World Series, and they got their asses kicked by the Mets in the playoffs, 4th straight. So how can anybody possibly pick the Cubs to favor the Cubs again this year. And when you're talking about a team that hasn't played in the World Series in 71 years. I mean, last time the Cubs were even in the World Series, you didn't even have the playoffs then. There was no such thing as a playoff system. There was no wild card. There was no three divisions then that you have now. You had no DH in American League. You had none of that crap. You had Harry Truman was president. So how can you say the Cubs, and they never won the National League pennant? True, they haven't had all the many chances. To tell to be fair, but they never ever won the National League pennant since the playoff format came about in 1969. Since the division place started in 1969, they never even got past the playoffs, much less get into the World Series. So how can they even be favored unless if they had got into the World Series last year? Then I could see favoring them maybe this year, but they haven't done so. They played badly in the playoffs. So how can against the Mets? How in the hell can anybody in Las Vegas odds makers pick the Cubs to win the World Series or at least get to the World Series? You gotta be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Of course, the National League Central is the toughest division in Major League Baseball. There are three teams who are capable of not only getting into the playoffs but making a big run, and that's of course the Cubs, the Pirates, and the Cardinals. Of course, the most underdog team out of the three are the Pirates because they haven't won. I mean, everybody always focuses on the Cubs because they haven't won since 1908. But also the Pirates have gone a long time without winning the World Series too. I mean, they haven't won a World Series since 1979. And all the teams that went in the playoffs last year, the Pirates have gone the longest with the Cubs went the longest, but I think the team that went the second longest were the Pirates because they haven't won since '79. They haven't played in the World Series since 1979. Even though they won the three divisions in a row, a couple of years ago they won the division. After more than 20 years of losing seasons, that they finally had a winning season and won. I think they just beat up the Cardinals for the division. And no, I think they won the wild card and they lost in the first round. But and this year they played a one-game playoff against the Cubs and they lost. But for me, I'd rather see the Pirates win than even the Cubs because the Cubs don't even get there. I mean, they haven't gotten there since like I said before, 1945. And the team that I don't want to see in there, of course, is the Cardinals. I want to see them out. I want to see them finally out of the playoffs, for once. I know we're focusing on the American League, National League, against the American League in a minute. Of course, in the Western Division, it's probably most likely to be the Dodgers again, even though they lost Greinke to free agency. But most likely, it's probably going to be the Dodgers again in the National League West, unless something crazy happens. Unless the Giants come back from the year before, and having a bad year the year before. That's probably the only team that could possibly beat up the Dodgers. It was probably the Giants. Of course, in the National League, the big question for this year in the National League, at least for me on a personal note, is will the Padres get the no-hitter? Because the Padres were the only team in the major leagues not to have a no-hitter. Of course, the Mets were, for a long time, was the Mets and the Padres for a couple of years, the two teams that never had a no-hitter. Until, of course, the miraculous night of June 1st, 2012, when Johan Santana, thank God for Johan Santana, finally pitched a no-hitter. So to me, I like to see the Padres finally get one, because they haven't had one. But to me, I want them to have a longer streak. But to me, I like to see them finally get one. But on the other hand, I like to see them have a longer streak than the Mets. Go like 52 years without a no-hitter. That's what I want to see. By the way, speaking of San Diego, that's where the 2016 All-Star Game will be played. Will be in San Diego. Now in the American League, the preview of the American League, Like I said before, I pretty much expect most of the teams to they were in the playoffs the year before we in this year. Uh, but I like to see maybe Houston win the division because Houston and Texas. Um, Even though we almost had that matchup in the playoffs, but I would like to see the two teams battle it out for the American League pennant. Uh, Even though that series probably won't get any rings because it's an old Texas playoff, but I would like to see, when I like it better when the Astros win the National League, so that way we have a possibility of having the Rangers an old Texas World Series. Because both, at least that way, at least one Texas team will finally break that drought and win the World Series. Because the Astros have been in the league as long as the Mets have. Because they both came in at that time the National League in 1962. The Mets have been in the World Series 5 times, and the Astros only been in the World Series once, and the Astros lost. Lost to the White Sox actually, and I would like to see them win one. Both Texas and Houston. I'd like to see either one of those teams win the World Series. So that way, people could say, "Hey, they finally won. They finally won the World Series." Either team. Of course, the Blue Jays. I pretty much expect the Blue Jays. Hopefully, the Blue Jays would get to the World Series again. Um, I expect the Blue Jays to have a very very good year, and hopefully they will get to the World Series this year. Uh, because they do kind of like the Blue Jays. They always have been since they won since the '80s when they first beat out the Yankees in 1985, and then they won the back-to-back World Championships in '92 and '93. And I would like to see them win again. Uh, but for me personally, I'd like to see the Mets get the third championship because the other teams, starting that, of course, last year with Kansas City, when they beat the Mets out in the World Series, there were teams that were slowly tying the Mets for being the greatest expansion team of all time. Because the Mets became the first expansion team to even win the World Series way back in '69. Then they won again in '86, and they haven't won one since then. Well, since then, yeah, Kansas City won. Kansas City won the year before in '85, and then they won. Of course, they beat the Mets last year. You had the Marlins win twice, and you had the Blue Jays win twice. Me last year when the Mets got in, I was actually rooting for a Blue Jays Mets World Series. And everybody was asking me why. It's because it will show which team is the greatest expansion team of all time. Because both teams won twice, and whoever ended up winning that series will have 3 championships as an expansion team. So we really would have loved to have seen who would have been the better expansion team, the Mets or the Blue Jays. And that's pretty much what I hope will come out this year. Uh, that would be a Mets. That's my prediction. Actually, a Mets Blue Jays World Series, or maybe even a rematch between the Mets and Kansas City. Uh, that's pretty much my picks right now. I know that by October this picks were all wrong. I don't want to get any hassle by anybody that like all my picks wrong. Like I did in the World Series, I got a lot of crap for picking the Mets over Kansas City and having it hard which team to pick because Kansas City was I think they were favoring in the World Series to beat the Mets out, but they were they beat the Mets in 5 games. I actually picked the Mets and I based it for picking that. So I'm not gonna go now in March to pick who's going to win the World Series. I just hope that's either a Mets Blue Jays World Series or a rematch with the Mets and Kansas City. That's what I hope for right now. And actually, of course, you can't really know what's going to happen right now because nobody's playing a regular season game yet. But of course, the thing that stinks with scheduling is that the Mets have 3 off days in the first week. Screwing the Mets once again, Major League Baseball. Because originally they had the game Monday, April 3rd. April 4th. with the Mets in Kansas City, but they changed it because the two teams are playing the World Series. They switched it to Sunday night, and the Mets have off Monday. Playing again, and the Mets in Kansas City playing again Tuesday, and because they moved the second game over one day instead of being on Wednesday, so now on Tuesday. And of course, on Wednesday and Thursday, the Mets are off. And then Friday, they play the first game at home. And they raised the championship banner on Friday. April 8th against the, was actually what was Gary Cole's birthday. Again, against the Phillies. And so, the Mets have 3 days off the first week, and actually 5 days off total in the whole month of April. And meanwhile, in August, if you look at the Mets schedule, in August, they only have one off day in the entire month of August. Now, 3 1 days in August, the Mets only have one off day. I mean, what the hell? I mean, you give the Mets 5 off days in April. And the way the stupid schedule makers are. And they want to give out one off day in August. I think in June, they got them like 2 off days in June. So it's really not a lousy schedule. I mean, and the Mets management, being the stupid assholes that they are, they don't complain about the schedules they have. Of course, the one team that I wish would not get in the playoffs is, of course, the New York Yankees. Or the New York Crappies. That's what I like to call them, because they're crap team, and God willing, they end up in last place. I want them to end up in last place, because I don't want to see them anywhere in the within a mile of the playoffs. The only way I hope the Yankees get into the playoffs is if they buy a ticket to see the Mets in the playoffs. But like I said earlier, the way the Mets played like I said in the top, the way the Mets have been playing in the exhibition games, especially in the last 10 days or so. God, I hope they don't play like that. If they play like that in the regular season, it's going to be one long summer in Queens. I'm telling you now. I mean, I'm reluctant to go crazy with the Mets this year because of the way they recently been playing in the exhibition. Truly, you can't take the exhibition game seriously, but the way they've been playing, especially the 3 tie games in a row, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were tied. 3 tie games. I mean, come on. Win a fucking game, people. Win a goddamn game. Because I want to see the Mets win at least something in last week in the exhibition games. In the exhibition season. I want them to win something. I want to see them win something, for goddammit. I mean, Terry Collins, no more ties, okay? Don't call for any more ties. I can't stand it already. Win a damn game. Win at least one game in the exhibition games. Can you win one fucking game, people? Come on. Come on. Show at least you can win a game, for God's sake. God damn it, win a fucking exhibition game. Why don't you try all out and win a game? God damn it, win a game. Sorry I have to go on the rant, but it's ridiculous. It's pathetic. The Mets are pathetic in the exhibition games, and they want to, favorite to win. They can't even beat anybody in the exhibition games for the last since St. Patrick's Day. They haven't won a game in 11 fucking days. Win a game. God. Sorry I had to go on that man. Sorry for his cursing, but it's was ridiculous. It's ridiculous already. I'd like to know how they're going to blow tomorrow's game. At least by the end of the week on the MLB Network, they're going to be on Thursday of this week. They're going to be showing a game between Mets and Cubs in Las Vegas, and you can finally see what that stadium looks like in Las Vegas when the Mets AAA farm team plays in. So at least that'll be fun. But like I said, I do hope. Like I said, I expect all the teams that won the playoffs last year to be in the playoffs this year. And my predictions right now for the World Series are the Mets versus the Blue Jays or the Royals. Um, please click on the video, please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all of my videos not only on my YouTube channel but also at rowdyc.com. That's all at WDY.com. That's the homepage of the Rowdy Reviewer, Christy Moore. Check out his website and all of his content, including his TV trash videos. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time, and let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!